It's quite a shock and surprise that these allegations have been thrown around. How hard are you able to push them? Well, there's a link. They're both Italian. There's certain lines that have to be drawn, surely. There was even like a lot of shouting matches going on. A little bit of advice, don't book Italians.
Professional dancer, choreographer, Strictly legend, Ian Waite. Tell me how dancing came into your life.
It's a funny story, actually. It's when my parents got divorced. Then my dad married my dance teacher, so it was cheap dance lessons after that.
There's been some Strictly scandals recently. Giovanni Panisse and Graziano De Prima.
What is offensive or abusive if you're pushing your celebrity to do something?
It's like an ongoing investigation at the moment. How do they conduct these investigations?
Unless it's all filmed, it's your word against theirs, really, isn't it?
Did you have any particularly bad mishaps?
We finished the dance, she looked at me and she pointed down at my trousers. But that wasn't the bad thing. The bad thing was, well, I wouldn't mind, but it was only 2 inches.
Professional dancer, choreographer, Strictly legend, Ian Waite, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. That's a nice entrance.
Simple, but as long as it includes the word legend.
Yeah.
We all know
Actually, funny you should say that. I'm just about to start a tour called Legends of the Dance Floor. So it's quite appropriate, actually.
Perfect. I guess we're going to be talking a lot about dancing. So let's rewind to the beginning and tell me how dancing came into your life and how it all began.
Yeah, I mean it's a funny story, actually, because it's when my parents got divorced. Great story.
I was going to say, you were so happy you started doing a jig.
No, my parents got divorced. I was 10 years old and my brother was 5. And my dad was told that there were lots of single women at the local dance school. So he thought, hey up, I'm going to go along there because obviously newly divorced. He started going to the local dance school and he loved it so much. He was going 4 or 5 times a week. They had a social night. They would go for drinks afterwards in the pub. So he started to get to know everybody really well. And he said, okay, Ian, I want you to go with your brother to like junior classes. And I said, Dad, I'm not doing that. I was playing rugby and football. The last thing I wanted to do is go and dance because I thought my friends would take the mickey at me, to be quite honest. So he said, okay, well, just take your brother then. Your brother will dance and you'll just wait there and watch him. So I used to take my brother. I think it was like a Tuesday, early evening, like 5 o'clock on a Tuesday. And so my brother used to dance and I used to watch. And then I was there for about 3 weeks, got to know people. And then one day, the teacher said, right, Ian, get up and do this Gay Gordon's.
Is that where it all began?
And that was it. The rest is history. But I sort of, I don't know whether it was straight away. It was instant that I loved the dancing, but I started to learn and then I started to do some competitions. And in those competitions, I started to win. Now, I wasn't sure whether it was the competitive element that I loved because I was very sporty, or it was actually performing in front of an audience and getting them cheering for you and dancing in front of an audience. And that was it. I was kind of hooked, and I actually then my dad married my dance teacher, so
really?
It was cheap dance lessons after that. Yeah.
Did you still keep up with the rugby and the other sports, or did you?
I don't think I did. I remember at one point classes were on a Saturday morning and my dad had to write a letter to my PE teacher and he wasn't very happy. Ian won't be able to be in the rugby team or the football team because he's got dance class on a Saturday and he wasn't very happy. I think now the teacher's probably thinking, oh, he did all right, I suppose. Yeah.
And when did you start to take it like very seriously then? When did you think this might become a career?
Well, from a very early age, my stepmother, because she married my dad, started to take me up to London to the top coaches in the world. I was probably 14, 15. And that was quite unusual because those top coaches, the likes of Nina Hunt, Bill Irvin, Walter Laird, these were like the top coaches in the world. They never took youth. They never took under 16-year-olds. They were only taking adults. So to be taking me at the age of 14, 15 was pretty unusual. But what that did was I started to really get better really quickly. And by the time I was 18, I was European champion. So And that was all because I'd been going to those top coaches from the age of 14. And it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for my stepmother taking me up there. So when I won the Europeans, I was, I kind of thought, okay, because I started my A levels and then I was like, Dad, I don't want to do this. I can't even, it's not for me doing A levels. I'm just gonna concentrate on my dancing. And I think because I just won the European, he was like, okay, just concentrate on your dancing. You can work for me, because he had his own precision engineering company. And so I used to basically run his office for him when I was there, because I was dancing competitions abroad in Germany, and I was up in London having dance lessons all the time with the top coaches.
In the earlier days, of kind of, I guess your teenage years and kind of coming up to being that top six in the world, how did the funding side of it work? I mean, was it something expensive for you to do, or do you get some kind of sponsorship, or is it prize money? And how do you put yourself through it?
Well, I was lucky because my dad sort of, he had the money to pay for my dance lessons. Had that not been available, I don't know whether I'd be here today. And also the dance partner that I was with, her parents were quite well off, and they were happy to pay for all the dance lessons and all the practice and all the traveling that we were doing. So so that was another element of it, actually, about getting another dance partner, is whether you can find a dance partner that can facilitate that and have the money to do it. It's not a cheap hobby at all. The dance lessons are expensive, and
If someone can't afford to do it from their own family resources, I mean, is there sponsorships and monies involved, or does often if you had money but your partner didn't, you may fund them? I mean, are there any, I guess, recognised routes that people?
I know in other countries they have a lot of support if you're quite good and quite talented. In the UK, I don't think we do. I don't think we have much sponsorship or support. We do have associations like the English Amateur Association, and I think they do support the amateurs. So there's certain funding in there for talented people coming up. But as far as I know, we don't really have very much sponsorship in ballroom dancing, and that's quite an issue, really, because other sports do get lots of funding for up and coming talent. So it's a bit of a shame, really.
As a 17, 18-year-old who I guess technically, would still be in some kind of education at this point, how time consuming was it? I mean, what would a typical day or week look like in terms of training, competitions, travel?
I would probably train about 4 or 5 times a week in the evenings.
Like a couple of hours.
And then, for a couple of hours. And then in the daytime, I would have probably 2 lessons in London a week in the daytime. So that would take me away from work. And then on the weekends, I would always be somewhere, like representing England in the World Championships or the European Championships in Germany. I literally travelled from the age of 16 till I was 21. I went to every country there was. I went to Israel, I went to Finland, Canada, Japan, all of these places, Australia, representing England. So it was an amazing time because I was doing what I loved and representing my country. So by the time I suppose I was 21, I was in the top 6 in the world.
Oh, really?
In the adult. Because before then, when I won the European, it was like youth. I was under 18.
And it was just a particular style of dancing you were doing at this point.
Well, I focused on originally it was 10 dance, but I was always getting better results in the Latin because I'm so tall. I'm 6'4". My partner was probably 5'6", so there was quite a height difference. So when there's a height difference like that in ballroom, it does affect your results because it doesn't matter how good you are. They're always going to see that height difference. So you need to be more closer to the same height.
And why don't you switch them out for someone of a
well,
height?
Yes, good question. Good question. I don't think there wasn't the dance there wasn't the dance partner available.
Okay.
So there was no tall girl to say, oh, I think I can. So I had to kind of specialize in the Latin American because that was more acceptable, that you had a height difference.
I guess at that top level, everybody probably has talent at a similar level, but what makes the number one, what makes the professional difference? Does that kind of stuff come into play a lot with dancing? You know, mindset and stress and mental health and discipline.
I think it all does. I think all of that comes into play because when you're a competitive dancer, it's the same as any competitive sport. You have to do it at such a high level that your mindset is just, training, eating right, lifestyle, and it's all organized around you being the perfect athlete, really. And I know as a dancer, we're exactly the same.
So is there a lot of, let's say, other fitness that comes into your daily life as a professional dancer? Like you're
Mm.
hitting the gym, you're running, you're eating right, you're sleeping right. I don't know much about dancing, so I can't really. I just imagine
Mm.
the bit on the Saturday night where you're on the dance floor and
Yeah,
you can't kind of see the hours of training, or
yeah,
eating the broccoli and avoiding the chocolate. But
yeah.
all that very much comes into it, does it?
I think if you're dancing 24/7, you can probably eat a bit of chocolate actually for the energy. But I mean, I certainly do. But I think it's something inbuilt in athletes as well. Having done a sort of a retreat recently with some Olympians, they're still super fit. They still eat whole foods and they're still really healthy. And I think it's that, when you've trained like that for 20 years, it just that's your lifestyle. So it doesn't really change, unless somebody completely changes their lifestyle and goes off the rails and is drinking all the time and stuff like that. Then yeah, it changes. But I must admit, from my own point of view, even though I've stopped competing many many years ago, I still look at my training in the gym as my training and keeping my body fit and I mean, you know all right, probably I've probably done it a bit too much over the last year and a half, but I got divorced the year before, and I think it kind of changes your mindset a little bit. You think, okay, right, I'm going to get fit now, and I'm going to be in the
Back on the
gym.
scene.
Yeah, I'm like literally 5 days a week in the gym, and and I feel great for it. And now I'm kind of obsessed. If I don't get my 5 times a week, I'm like, okay, when am I going to, you know? Um, but I think even when I was competing, I was in the gym as well. And I think I'm quite lean and skinny. So I was always trying to be bigger, bulkier, just to look sort of stronger on the dance floor. Because you have other people who are quite muscular who look strong straight away. Whereas I was always looking a little bit weak compared to those because I had this slender, slim sort of look. So that's kind of also inbuilt in my brain. I need to get bigger. I need to look bigger. Although I don't think I'm never going to look like a bodybuilder, but being 6'4" and skinny, it's not gonna happen. But at least if I can just look a little bit sort of athletic, it's better.
Let me hit you with a mad stat. You are probably not subscribed. Seriously, 58% of the people who listen to this podcast every single week do not hit that subscribe button. That is more than half of you. So let's fix this right now. The goal here is super simple. We grow the podcast, we bring in bigger guests, and we give you even more no bullshit, actionable insights to level up your business and to level up your life. Now in business, you set smart goals. That's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Well, here's one for you. Let's get that 58% down to well below 50% in the next 3 months. So please do me a quick favor. If this podcast has ever given you one good idea, one piece of advice that's helped you or helped your business, then hit that subscribe button. It takes a second, it costs nothing, and it means that I can keep bringing you even bigger and better guests, giving you even bigger and better insights. Go on, do it now. I'll wait. Done? Perfect. Great choice. Let's grow this together.
So how did Strictly come about?
So I after that partnership with the world champion, which was a disaster. It was 7 months. We did really well, but it was like hell on earth for me. I was looking for a partner, and we kind of, because it's very small world, I was looking for a partner anywhere in the world. And I remember I had about £11,000 in the bank, and I said to my dad, "I've seen this house down the road." I said, I think I want to buy it. It's like semi-detached. It's near Grand's house. He said, "No, you don't know what you're doing with your dance career. Don't spend it on a house, because then you'll be committed to a house." So I didn't. I bought a sports car instead. I had an amazing time in the sports car. And I found a dance partner in Holland. She was Ukrainian. She got a Dutch passport. She'd been living there for 10 years. And she's a great dancer. So I started like traveling over there, and we decided we were going to be a dance partnership. In the beginning, I was like traveling backwards and forwards to Rotterdam.
I mean, I was going to say, how do you, when you're looking around the world for these partners, how do you end up training with them? Do you have to go, look, I'll come to Spain for a month and hang out with you. You come to England,
Exactly
do a month
that.
with me.
Exactly that. Or one of you decides to relocate. And that's what happened in the end. We were doing it for 6 months, and then I said, do you know what? If you can get me some work here, I'm going to relocate to Rotterdam. And then every 2 weeks I was flying home and teaching for a day on a Saturday. And I was teaching the whole day because I had 30, 40 hours of teaching because my stepmother had a dancing school.
Yeah.
So I was going over to Holland, and I became Dutch champion in that time. I became, then I split with the Dutch girl, and I started dancing with a Belgian girl, became Belgian champion, second in the European show dance. And I'd literally in December, I'd come second in the European show dance. But in the back of my head, I was like, I've been here for 7 years in Holland, and I didn't have any money. I hadn't saved anything up. I was 33 years old. And I thought, I don't need to move home. I need to move back and start teaching full time and saving some money and buying a house, because I'm 33. And in the last month that I was in Holland, I had to borrow money off my dad to pay my rent. So anyway, I decided to move back. I moved back in the April. And when I moved back, I heard about this show, Strictly Come Dancing. Bearing in mind, I'd been on Come Dancing, the original Come Dancing, many years before. And I heard about this, and I was like, oh, God, how are they going to get celebrities, beginners, to dance like us in a few weeks? It's not going to be possible. It'd be ridiculous. I mean, what a stupid idea. Saturday night live entertainment. Well, I started watching it. I moved back in the April. I started watching it, and I was like, bloody hell. Actually, they're performing amazing dances. They did have Chris Parker, who made the final, and he was terrible. But people kept voting for him, so he kept getting back in. But he was hilarious because he was so bad, and captivated the audience in the first series with Brendan Cole and Natasha Kaplinsky. And what happened was, I was in Blackpool. I put an advert in. It's like the biggest competition in the world, Blackpool Winter Gardens. It's the Open British Championship. I'd put an advert in there saying I was back in the UK. And Camilla Dallarup, who was Brendan Cole's dance partner and fiance, saw it. Anyway, we bumped into each other at a party there, and she said to me, oh, I've split up with Brendan. Maybe we can get together sometime and dance together. So I was like, yeah, sure. Anyway, I was on holiday at the time in the June, and she rang me and she said, listen, why don't we get together and talk about dancing together? We met up, we decided we were going to dance together. And then she said, oh, by the way, the BBC are looking for new dancers for the second series of Strictly Come Dancing. And they're having another one in September, another series. This was in the first year of Strictly, 2004. And I said, yeah, sure, put me forward. Well, I had 4 auditions. And I remember I was on the beach in Ibiza partying. And I got this phone call, and it was from a producer in London from Strictly saying, we've done all your auditions, it's great, but we've got nothing up to date from you. And I thought, well, I just come runner-up in the European show dance in France. So I rang my dad up, and it was in the days of cassette recorders. Yeah. I mean, can you believe it? And I said, Dad, I've got a cassette recorder at home. Can you put it to where our show dance is and send it to the BBC? So unbeknownst to me, he gets it and he sends it via courier, like bike. And an hour later, they rang me up and they said, yeah, Ian, we've seen your video, you're in. So you're in this season of Strictly. So that was my introduction into the second series of Strictly.
For the auditioning process, was it all dance related, or do they do a lot of kind of testing you for your personality and banter and stuff in general, or is it more?
I think most of it is personality. Most of it's that. I had about 2 or 3 interviews with different producers. The last one, I went into the office and I was interviewed by the exec producers, and it was videoed. And so that was quite intimidating, a bit like this. No. And also I had to teach a couple. So I was in the studio. They filmed a bit of me teaching another couple so that they knew that I could teach. Obviously, if other pros are recommending me, they know my stature. And it was kind of the perfect step for me because I'd kind of finished my competitive career. I was used to teaching beginners because of my parents' dancing school. And I was used to teaching show dances, which is what they are on Strictly. Every dance is a show dance on Strictly. Let's face it. You have a beginning, a middle, and end. You have highlights, you have lifts, and it's not like we're going to do a cha-cha-cha. It's not like that. It's a show dance. And that's what I'd just done. So it was kind of the perfect way into Strictly Come Dancing.
You did 7 years of Strictly.
Yes, I did. So I did 6 years as a pro dancer. And then, the 7th year was as a pro dancer. I was in the show dancers. But then that year I transitioned into It Takes Two, and I was presenting my own slot on It Takes Two called Waite's Warm Up, where I basically critiqued all of the rehearsals that they were doing, all the couples rehearsals, basically to say what they could do better before the show on Sunday or Saturday. And that was my slot on a Wednesday afternoon, which was, it was great to go from that. And I mean, I'll be honest, when I was dropped from Strictly, I was pretty devastated. It took a lot of time to get over that, probably about 2 years.
Why were you dropped?
Why was I dropped? I don't really know. I know that, like, at that time, I'd been doing the show. I'd been touring with the pro dancers on Strictly. I've been doing all the arena tours as well. So I was pretty exhausted. It was sort of 6, 7 years of doing that. And I probably went into my interview with my new producer and probably didn't give the right impression. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just tired and exhausted. Just needed a bit of a break. I probably could have had a year off and I'd come back like a new person. But it was just one of those things. Absolutely gutted at the time. But I do feel like I was also, I was given this opportunity to become a presenter as well at the same time on It Takes Two. So to do that for 10 years afterwards, it kept me part of the Strictly family. It kept me doing what I loved, which was touring my own shows. And it was it was a hard transition, but and in the beginning I was like, oh my God, I don't do this. I don't talk for a living. I dance for a living. It was a hard transition to make.
And in terms of the 6 or 7 years that you were doing Strictly for, I mean, was it highs and lows, or was it always the best experience ever? Give me some juicy gossip, your favourite celebs.
There was definitely highs and lows, and in those days they showed them, right? Because nowadays they don't show the highs and lows so much. It's more about all the happy, fluffy stuff, and but in those days, we used to go through weeks where it was really hard. This dance, like with Zoe Ball. Zoe Ball's probably my closest friend. I'm still really good friends with Denise Lewis. I see her very, very recently. Penny Lancaster. We've stayed in great contact, but yes, in those days we did have highs and lows. And I have to say, to be a good teacher, you've got to be able to adapt to your pupil. And they were all very different personalities. Denise was very laid back, not particularly hardworking, which you would be surprised at. But on a live show, she was like focused, unbelievable focus. And you could understand why, as an Olympian, they have to be like that. When they need to deliver, they focus and they deliver their best performance. Do you know what I mean? So she was like that on a live show. She would produce, I'd be in rehearsals, I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know how this is going to go. Get to the live show and she would be amazing on the live show. She would do her best performance. Zoe was totally different. Zoe was very emotional. 1 minute she'd be up, next minute she'd be down. And
Down
managing...
because she was doing some bad dancing in practice and getting stressed with it,
Yeah, or
just
she
up and down
struggled with the dance. 1 week she thought it was easy, and then the next week she thought it was really difficult. And so we did go through that like roller coaster of emotions. And whereas I could really push Denise, with Zoe, I felt as though she worked with affirmation, positive affirmation all the time. So if I said to Zoe, yeah, you got your head out really good, even if she didn't, she would think, he likes the way I put my head out, I'm going to do it even more. Do you know what I mean? So it would be like, the more I encouraged her, the more I gave her credit, the better she got, and the more confidence. So it's more confidence building with Zoe. And then, I had amazing, like Penny Lancaster was very, very motherly. She would invite me home to her and Rod's place for dinner afterwards, after every practice. I mean, Rod got a bit fed up in the end. He was like, oh God, you again. Do you know what I mean? And I've stayed really good friends with them. And Jodie Kidd, see, I used to get all the really tall ones because I'm 6'4". They were all 6 foot. They're all like 5'11", 5'10", 6 foot. Jodie Kidd was amazing. She was she was so funny. I wouldn't say she was particularly hardworking, but she's just hilarious. We used to have such a laugh, and we'd do like an hour and a half, and then she'd say, "Should we go to the pub? Let's have a pint, shall we?" So it'd be very like mates and fun, yeah.
You talk about the teaching. I mean, so what is the setup? Does a choreographer pick a dance for you, and then it's down for you to teach it to your partner?
The producers decide. So they choose who you're dancing with also. Obviously, the producers of the show. And then they will give everybody a different dance every week. So it's very rare that they have 2 of the same dances on. They'll just change it up as much as possible. And basically, I think the first 3 weeks, you get to work on the first 2 weeks of the dances. But then from week 3, you're given your dance and you're told what you're doing next. You could be told the dance that you're doing in a few weeks before, but you're not really given your music. So you can't choreograph anything until you've got that music in your hands because of the edit, because they'll edit it down to a minute and a half. And so then you have to choreograph it. So then from week 3, it's probably you have 1 week to get them, to teach them, to choreograph it. You choreograph it on the Sunday morning or Sunday sometime. Go in the studio on Monday, and then you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, you're in the studio, or Friday, you're in the studio, strictly studio. So you don't have many days to get that celebrity.
And those days that you're training, I mean, they're 8-hour days, 9, just graft.
It depends where you are. In the UK, they're doing 8 to 10 hours. And I think it's like expected of you. If you're not doing that, then it's got like that. In my day, it wasn't like that. Like back in the day, it was like, the celebs were told that they had to do at least 12 hours a week. Well, it's not like that anymore. It's like 20 to 30 to 40 hours a week.
I mean, if you've never danced before, that just can't possibly be enough time to learn.
Well,
the 12 hours, that is.
Yeah, but you can learn a lot, right? You can learn a lot in 40 hours in a week, or let's say, I don't know, 30 hours a week.
Yeah, no, but I meant the 12 hours you were saying in the beginning. That practice time that you're together, is that kind of for you to work out between you, kind of, as in you're told, right, you're performing on Saturday, for example, you've got Monday to Friday to get on with it, and you and your partner pick up the phone and go, right, I'll see you. I'll see you in the dance practice room at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And for example, if they say, "Oh, I can't be asked coming till 11," that's down for you and them to sort it out, is it? And for you to give them some shit and say,
I mean,
come on.
I'd never had any dance partners that were like that turned up late or anything like that. They were always really on time, and I'm glad about that, because I probably would have gone mad.
Who were some bad ones for other people?
Well, I'm not going to say. But I think that it was. There's a lot to do in that time. You think, 8-10 hours a day, you've got loads of time to teach this celeb to do that. But actually, there's a lot to learn. And I did have one dance partner. I'd be working on the hips. Okay, so like we're working on the hips. Okay, now we're going to work on foot action, leg action. I can't do that. I've only just done the hips. I said, yeah, but we may have to move on. Once we've done it, we have to move on. She was arguing that she didn't want to go on to that because she'd only just learned to do that part of the. I was like, no, like we don't have enough time. We have to get on and do these, tick these boxes and get them done, or else you're not going to be ready for Saturday. So it is a little bit, you do have in the back of your head, you're thinking time's ticking, and we've got to be good enough so that, like, by Wednesday, Thursday, you want to be running the dance, and you want them to know everything, and you're just running it and practicing the performance. That's what you want to be, so that when you go live on a Saturday, it's just your body's done it so many times that it's just spontaneous. This is what it's going to do. You don't have to think about the routine. You've done it so many times, you're just going to do it.
Would you ever still get nervous, doing the performances, like, the live performances for Strictly, or not a lower level, but because it's, you're not doing your world-class competing, with a world-class partner against other world-class people? Was it quite a chilled thing for you where you're just out there and going through the motions, or was it still, concentrating, hard work, stress?
It definitely wasn't chilled. I can remember my legs shaking at times going on, because you don't really know, they're beginners.
Well, I was going to say, what do you worry more about, yourself or about your partner fucking up?
I think you're more worried about the partner, but also you're going live to like 12 million people. That's scary. I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter what you're doing and how much you know about the subject. You're going to be... I was going to swear then, but you're going to be cacking yourself, because you're about to go live to 12 million people. So anything can happen. It's scary.
Did you have any particularly bad mishaps? Or it's not you
well, yeah, partner? only once. But when I danced the final with Zoe Ball, we were announced as third, but we were able to dance our show dance, because in those days you could. And so we danced our show dance, and we were like, right, let's prove to them that we should never have come third. And we danced the show dance, and it was America from West Side Story. I want to be in America.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
A singer, not just a dancer, but a singer too.
Well, I've done a bit of panto.
Oh no, you haven't.
And at the beginning of this number, she has a fan. She's a Spanish dress, and she has a fan, and she's doing all the slow moves with the fan. And then she's supposed to throw the fan off the floor, right? But she throws it not off the floor, still on the floor. Okay. So we're doing the dance. We're great. And at one point, we walk away from each other and do this big grand circle away from each other. And of course, I stand on the fan and fall over. Anyway, one of the things with Zoe is I could never let go of her, because she would either go off time or do the wrong steps. So I always had to be holding on to her. And all I remember is being on the floor and her looking down at me, just laughing. And I thought, don't laugh, keep going, keep going. So I had to quickly jump up and like carry on with the dance. But yeah, I think that's one of the only times a pro dancer has fallen over.
And that happened while you were live?
Yeah, live to the nation.
There's been some Strictly scandals recently, very, very recently. I mean, I'm terrible with the names. Giovanni Panisse and Graziano De Prima. Do you know those guys?
Well, there's a link. They're both Italian. A little bit of advice: don't book Italians anymore.
Did you know them personally, or know
yeah, I know both of them. I'll be honest; it's quite a shock and surprise that these allegations have been thrown around, because certainly in my time on Strictly, I never experienced anything like that. There was times when I fell out with my partner, yes, and there was times when there was even like a lot of shouting matches going on, but it was for good reason. It wasn't, in any work situation, it doesn't matter what it is, even if it's TV or whatever, there has to be a level of respect, and there's certain lines that have to be drawn, surely. I think one of the problems here is that as a pro dancer, we certainly weren't given all of the safeguarding rules or the rules that we should be sticking to as far as with our celebrities. And I think
how to behave.
yeah, how to behave. I mean, I know how to behave, but if you're not given safeguarding rules and all of those things, then how will they know how much to push them? What is offensive or abusive if you're pushing your celebrity to do something? How hard are you able to push them? Because obviously there's been in the past, I have pushed celebrities, and that's just to get the best out of them. But I would say it was done in a way which was just to, bring out the best in them. I mean, some people will say the way the pro talks to their celebrity, but it is like a teacher pupil scenario at the end of the day. I suppose it's just now that situation has arisen, then obviously there's got to be a lot more safeguarding and a lot more we need to know what the rules are.
When these kind of situations occur, how does Strictly and the producers or the people behind the scenes, deal with it? Because I know one of the two guys I mentioned, there's like an ongoing investigation at the moment, isn't it? I mean, how do they conduct these investigations? Is it, I guess, like you do in a corporate business where they get the different celebs in, get the different dancers
and they
in,
would interview them,
ask questions?
I would presume, unless it's all filmed, it's your word against theirs, really, isn't it? But if there's a running theme throughout all of those celebs, then it's quite, But then, if you've got somebody, if that's pro has got somebody who's really good, and then they've got somebody who's really bad, the teaching method is going to be very different. Because one gets it in 5 minutes, the other one takes 5 days to get it, and that's hard. That's harder to cope with. But I guess it's the way you cope with them.
In terms of the partner, when you have a partner, that's like, it's almost like a dance marriage, is it? Like, you don't chop and change. It's not like I'm doing this competition with you, I'm doing this with you.
No.
You pick a partner, you train together, you compete together. You are a team.
Well, exactly that. I mean, we danced together for 10 years, and we were like a team. We were like brother and sister. I mean, it is. I mean, now I look back, I think it's funny because, like, on Strictly, everybody dances with everybody. The pros mix around and dance with somebody different each year, and it's not quite so. You don't have to specifically dance with one person, and a lot of the pros have tried to do that because they tried to make their name on their own rather than having that particular dance partner. I've always had quite long-term dance partners, even on Strictly. I danced with Camilla Dalla up for quite a while, and then I danced with Natalie Lowe, and those were my main partners. So I think it's something which, is from the dance world, and you don't chop and change.
When did you become professional, and when did this go from just, I guess, fun amateur competitions to this was your career, this is how you're going to get paid?
So I split with my long-term partner when we were about 24.
Why?
She got a boyfriend.
Did you get jealous?
No, I didn't get jealous. I didn't get jealous. No, she got a boyfriend, and they started going out with each other. We were training less, so we were only doing twice a week. And when we were 21, 22, we were in the final of the top 6, and then we went out of the final. And that's very rare. Nobody ever does that. So to go out of the final, and we did that for 2 years, and I was like, we need to change something here. I need to move on because.
Were you blaming her for it then?
I wouldn't say blaming her for it. I think it was just that, at that point when we were in the final, that's when we needed to up it. We needed to up it. We needed to be training 5 times a week. We needed to, and I felt like she decided that, I don't want to do this. I've got the boyfriend. I don't really want to. She didn't take it seriously anymore. And that's why we went out of the final. That's why we went out of the top 6. Looking back, it's very cutthroat because you just think, wow, maybe if you had had a conversation and said, listen, you've got a choice. Either we start going for it and getting back in that final, or I'm going to split. But at the time I was like, right, no, that's it. I'm going, you know?
Did you guys maintain contact for
Yeah,
that?
yeah. We're still really great friends now. There's only 3 days between us in our age. And we've always been close. You know, she married that guy.
I was going to say, did she stay with him?
She did marry with him, but then she divorced him. And now she's happily married again with twins and stuff. So, yeah, I think she's happy with her life choices, you know. And although, you know, it probably to see, you know, you see me on like Strictly and then think, oh, wow, you know, if only I'd carried on doing it, you know, in a way. But no, she's a great friend. So, but then I went on to dance with another girl, Scottish girl. And we were kind of seventh. So we were on the brim of getting into the top 6. Now, top 6 is the final. But if you don't make the final, you may as well be
not entering.
Not entering, as far as I was concerned, because I wanted to get back in that final. So we were sort of seventh for like almost 2 years then, like knocking on the final. But I, you know, there's something in me that was saying this isn't the right partnership for me, and it wasn't. You know, she was a great girl. Anyway, we split up after 2 years, and then there was the availability of dancing with the world champion as a pro. But I had to decide that I was going to turn pro at that point. I was about 25, 26.
So what's the difference then between being amateur and being pro?
Well, not a lot nowadays, because the amateurs can teach and the amateurs can earn money the same as pros. So it's not really, but back in those days, we weren't allowed to do demonstrations. We weren't allowed to teach, because officially that was it. You know, you could only do that if you turned professional.
And with this girl being the number one and the professional, I mean, did she immediately want you, or did you have to kind of audition and convince?
I think it was a case of she'd been looking for a partner for a while after splitting with her partner, being the world champion. So she'd only been the world champion probably like a year and a half before that. So then they basically, her partner turned pro, and he decided to split it and get with a new girl for the pro field. And I think she'd spent a year and a half looking for a partner. So I think by then she was a bit desperate. So that's why. And so we danced together. But literally, I mean, we did really well. We were right up there. In the pro, we were about 7th in the pro, which is, you know, to go from the amateur, 7th in the amateurs, 7th in the pro is pretty amazing. But I have to say, it was the hardest time of my life. Because it was so stressful dancing with her. She was very demanding. And I've got nothing against Germans, but she was very German. Do you know what I mean?
Precise.
And precise. But, you know, like that's her way. And
does having a bad celeb or a bad partner impact on your chances of getting rehired for next season as well?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. It makes a big difference who you get. And that's kind of beholden to the producers as well. And I will say it's a tough show, especially if you've come on the show and you've been given great celebs in your first few years, and you've done really well, made the final, made the semi-final, and then all of a sudden you get given you know, like Anton sometimes, and maybe the older ones or the ones that aren't going to be as good, then that's harder. It is harder. And it is kind of down to, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's a great show to be on, whether you're dancing with somebody who's not as good a dancer or a great dancer. It's still great fun to be doing.
How did the divorce affect you?
Do you know, it'd been coming for a long time. So I was ready for it. I think he'd met somebody else. And so I was kind of ready to step away from the relationship. So when it came to it, I was like, right, okay. Yes, I was like, I've got some direction. I know what I want to do. But I think affecting me, my self-esteem was a lot lower. and I lost a lot of confidence.
What had caused him to get with someone else? Was that you were travelling too much, working too much?
So he was an airline pilot.
Okay.
And I think that says it all. You know,
Italians and airline pilots.
Long haul. I mean, it's like, you know. But anyway, I had lost a lot of self-esteem, and I've been really lucky in my career, that I've been busy for many years. And what happened was then, just after that happened, we decided to split up. It was like in the January 2023. It's on my birthday, actually. Nice day, great day. But just after that, my dance partner, Natalie Lowe, she'd relocated to Australia. She was Australian. She'd had kids. Her first son is my godson. And she rang me and she said, guess where I am? And I said, where are you? She said, I'm on my way to meet my celeb. I said, what are you talking about? You just had a baby like 10 months ago. I said, are you doing Dancing with the Stars Australia? She said, yes. I said, oh my God, that's amazing. She said, anyway, the reason I'm ringing is I was in a production meeting with them and they are looking for a tall boy, tall pro dancer. So I put your name forward. I hope you don't mind. I'm like, well, when is it? I said, I might be busy. She said, it's like April, May this year. So I was like, okay. I said, well, I've got a couple of things, but I probably could move them. She said, okay, would you have a Zoom with the exec producer? So I said, okay. So I had a Zoom on the Sunday with the exec producer, and he was like, we're so happy to have you on board, Ian, somebody of your caliber. We can't wait to get you started on the show. I haven't even said yes yet. But do you know what? I thought, like 2 months in Australia, why not? They did a shortened down version because ever since COVID, they made this shortened down version so it was a bit easier and pre-recorded. So it was all done over 7 weeks, 8 weeks.
Oh, and what year was that?
So that was 2023, last year. And I loved it so much. I had such a great time. Made the final. My celeb was amazing. She was an actress, Virginia Gay. I loved her. We were like best mates. And then I wasn't sure whether I'd do it again because I thought it was a great time to step away and be myself and find my purpose again, because being Ian Waite, the Strictly Come Dancing, Dancing with the Stars star on TV was where I was most comfortable and where I shone really. So to do that again brought back my confidence. So I wasn't sure whether I'd do it again. And then the producers rang me up and they said, we'd really like you back. Channel 7 would love you back, which was the channel that did it in Australia. And it's January, February. And I thought, January, February is summer in Australia. Why do I want to stay here in the terrible weather in the UK? Why don't I just go to Australia and do that for 2 months? So I thought, yes, I'm going to go out there. Well, the first month was in Melbourne. So, I was a bit gutted because my dance partner, Natalie, was in Sydney. So I thought, well, I won't see her in the first month. But then the second month was in Sydney. So I thought, well, I'll see her in the second month and I'll see my godson. They gave me an amazing partner, Lisa McCune, who is like a national treasure out there. She's like one of their best actresses in their dramas out there. She's won 4 Golden Logies, which is like their equivalent to our BAFTAs. So she was much loved by the public. Anyway, we pre-recorded that filming and we made the top 2. Now, the top 2, they both get filmed winning because it's pre-recorded. Both get recorded winning the trophy with your winning speeches. And you don't know who wins until it comes out on the TV. So I didn't find out until the 12th of August this year that I actually won it. So finally, after 20 years, I actually won the Mirable Trophy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And
this was the same season Aunt Middleton was on, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Aunt Middleton was 3rd.
And so Aunt's a friend of mine back in Dubai.
Which we actually lived in Dubai, didn't he?
Yeah, so we actually met on the podcast, and he was moving out to Dubai literally just after he'd been on the podcast. So we hang out with the family and stuff over there. Yeah. And he showed me. I never obviously got to watch it on the telly, but when he'd come back to Dubai from Australia, Australia. We were out for the day, and he was showing me his
dances.
showing me his little dance
He
moves.
did pretty amazing.
I mean,
He was amazing.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, he looked, because he doesn't look like a dancer, does he? You know,
No.
But the way they came together, not just the dancing, but the whole production. You know,
Yeah.
I remember the Danny Zuko Grease type thing he did and everything. Very, very cool.
I mean, he was a revelation, really, because this guy you don't expect to be. He could literally do anything, really. I mean, the lift work that he did was insane. I mean, stuff like standing on the shoulders. I mean, who puts your partner and standing on your shoulders? I mean, it's like ridiculous. But I did love Ant. You know, we had a special bond as well, because obviously we're both British. So we were the two Brits on the show, and everybody else was Australian. And he was just an all-round brilliant guy, and I loved him. And really inspirational as well, because he sort of stepped out of his comfort zone. And just, I think the thing with Dancing with the Stars or Strictly Come Dancing, as a celeb, you've got to just say, I'm going to give everything to this. I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to think, oh, I can't do that because it's got rhinestones on it, or I can't do that because it looks, you just got to say, okay, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do, and do it at my best. And that's what he did. He did it 100%. Thankfully, he was third. Because I did worry about him. I thought he could win this. He could definitely win this.
Are you going to be going back for another year?
It is later in the year, I think, next year. So I don't know. I think, part of me thinks, okay, I've won it now. I've been doing it for 20 years. Probably the longest serving pro dancer. I'm 53, the oldest person to ever win it in the world, probably. Do I really want to go back as a dancer? I'd love to go back as a judge or as a presenter in some way. I don't know whether that's in my stars at all. But I mean, it would be nice to go back as the current reigning champion. Do you know what I mean? So,
but then the pressure's on.
Yeah,
finish on a high.
yeah. That's the issue, really. It would be nice to finish on a high, and but it is fun out there. It's lovely to go out there and work for 2 months. So who wouldn't want to work in the sun in Australia for 2 months? It's just great.
So after the show finished, after you finished on the show, you were doing your It Takes Two.
Yeah.
What else has been going on since then, and what I guess what doors were open to you from that Strictly opportunity?
Yeah. So I started It Takes Two, I think, in 2011, and when we carried on doing that with Zoe, and I did it with Zoe Ball, and I think one of the reasons I got the job is because me and Zoe have such a great chemistry. And so we had such a great online sort of chemistry that it was undeniable, really. We always used to have such a laugh, and it was very natural. To be honest, it wasn't, I never looked at it as a job. It was more me having a laugh with my mate, and on screen, and just making TV magic, really. But it was a lovely job to have, and what that facilitated for me was also touring. So I started to do my own theatre tours. I think I did an arena tour in 2012. Then I started with my own theatre tours in 2015, 16.
When you say your own, it's literally just you.
So just me with my dance partner. I started off with Camilla Dallarup, actually, and she'd already left Strictly, but we did our first tour together, and then I toured with Natalie Lowe, who was still on the show. So she was, a current pro on the show. We did some tours together. We wrote them, we choreographed them, and so they were very successful. Then Natalie decided to stop and have babies and leave the show, and I partnered up with Oti Mabuse, who became mega famous after that. That was in 2018. And then all of a sudden she was a judge on The Greatest Dancer. Did so brilliantly. Then she was a judge on the Masked Dancer.
Mm-hmm.
Then she's been a judge on Dancing on Ice. I mean, she's done a phenomenal job. And I think any of the pros that have diversified and gone off and done stuff like that is just, it's great for us because it leaves the door open for us to do other things rather than just be a dancer. And I think up until these dancers like Anton as well started to break off and do other things, it's opened the door for all of us, which is great. So we did that in 2018. Then 2019, I started a show with Vincent Simone called The Ballroom Boys. Hugely successful show. We did our first tour, sold out. We went to do our second tour, and that was at the beginning of COVID. So we got all the rehearsals done. We had all the routines ready. We were about to go live on the 19th of March, and then everything closed down on the 18th of March. So we literally were rehearsing our dress run in a theatre, and then we couldn't open because of COVID, because everything shut down.
Did you ever get to bring that show
Yeah,
out?
so we waited a year and a half, and then we brought it back in the autumn of 2021. So it was a year and a half after the same show. I think we changed one of the girls changed because they weren't available. So that was the only thing about that. But it meant that we were able to tour that show again. And we toured that show, carried on till June, actually, the year after. And then I didn't tour after that for a while. I think we did a third tour together, me and Vince. Yeah, we did. We did another tour together. So we've worked a lot together, me and Vince. We are like the dancing Morecambe and Wise, or the dancing Two Ronnies. It's a bit like that because Vincent's very small. He's only about 5'7", and I'm 6'4". So us two on stage together, he's very funny as well, you know. So we bounce off each other.
You don't just dance; you'll talk and interact.
Yeah, we do a lot of talking. So we've got a lot of jokes, a lot of fun stories from Strictly. You know, I talk about fun stories like when I did a cha-cha demonstration with Camilla Dalla up and ripped my trousers right at the front. And I had this, and I couldn't understand. I was dancing with her, the cha-cha-cha, and I couldn't understand why the audience was laughing hysterically. You don't expect that when you're doing a demonstration. Maybe a clap here and a whoop there, but not laughing hysterically. I thought, this is odd. Anyway, we finished the dance. She looked at me and she pointed down at my trousers. And I looked down and I'd split the trousers right at the front of my crotch. But that wasn't the bad thing. The bad thing was that I had a flesh-coloured shirt on and part of it was poking out the bottom. Well, I wouldn't mind, but it was only 2 inches. So I asked in the audience, I said, has anybody got a needle and cotton? And this old lady said, yes, I have, dear. She came down with a needle and she was like shaking like that. She started to sew. And then I said, it's all right. I'll bite the cotton, thank you. So, yeah, we used to just tell fun stories from Strictly also. You know, I used to share a dressing room with Anton and Brendan. So Brendan's very competitive and very like in the zone on a Saturday, like with the shows. And Anton was always joking. I mean, me and Anton were like bantering all the time, having a laugh. And I remember once... we were sat there bantering, laughing, knock on the door. And I opened the door and it's my mum and her best friend. And I'm like, hi, how are you? And then they both went like that. Their mouths dropped. And I turned around and Brenda was in the mirror, okay, bending over, doing his hair with just a jock strap on. So, my mum dines out on that. She always tells that story where she saw Brendan Cole's bottom. Yeah. But yeah, so we did that tour. And then, of course, we had COVID. I did another short tour after that. Then basically I got divorced and it's just kind of bringing us up to current day.
What is your Fitsteps program?
Fitsteps. You know, this is funny. I was talking about writing my book the other day and I've got somebody helping me. And I went through all of the stuff, you know, my whole life, and I'd forgotten about Fitsteps, which is such a massive part. 11 years ago, I'd started this many years. Like when I was living in Holland, I remember going past fitness classes like Les Mills and thinking, oh, these classes are great, but my ballroom dancing keeps me in a really fit shape. So why can't there be a class, some sort of class, which is ballroom based or ballroom and Latin American based? And so I had that in the back of my head. And obviously Zumba was very big at the time as well. It was massive. So I thought, well, I'll become a Zumba instructor. So I learned that when I kind of left Strictly. And I taught that a bit. And I loved it. But I thought, ballroom dancing is so different to this. So I went about creating my own ballroom and Latin-based dance fitness program. So I'd done that and I started teaching it quite a bit. It was very successful. And then I got approached by Natalie Lowe, my dance partner, and Mark Foster, the Olympic swimmer.
Yeah.
And Nat said to me, listen, Mark's got this idea about a dance fitness program. He's got some friends who are in that business, in the fitness world, who could run the business. We've just got to create it. Would you be interested? Because I'd like to do it with you because I know you're doing something like that already. So I said, yeah, sure. Why not? So we spent a year creating Footsteps and then we launched it about 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago. And it's been amazing. We got 1,000 instructors across the UK and across the world. And we have about 850 subscribers to our app, which we created during COVID because we knew there was a market for it and kind of flew. So, it's great. Really, we want to emulate that in other countries. So that's what we're trying to do. And we have like instructors popping up everywhere in the world because we have an online training program to be an instructor. So you can literally learn it online from anywhere in the world and become an instructor. What it's done is it's kept me fit as well. Because, I'm 53 and I'm still doing the classes myself. I've got a class tonight, actually, in Wokingham. And I love it. And the fact that I can do a class which is ballroom and Latin based, which is what I do, which is what my body knows, is amazing for me. And people love it because it's like Strictly, any lady can do this dance, get fit, do all the moves off the Strictly, and it's like you don't need a partner, so it's perfect.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I guess in the I was going to say 20 plus. I mean, like 30 years really since the professional dance life began for you. It's been a whirlwind of stories and experiences and fantastic success. I mean, what have we got to look forward to? Either coming out soon or where's the next 5 or 10 years of?
Who knows? Who knows? I do think I'm doing a course of NLP later on this year, so hopefully that'll give me some sort of clarity as to what I'm going to do in the future. But over the next couple of months, I'm rehearsing and I've got this tour, Legends of the Dance Floor, which I said at the beginning, with Brendan Cole, Vincent Simone, Pasha Kovalev, and James Jordan, the 5 of us.
People listening or watching, they can buy tickets for that now. They can Google it, find it
online. They can buy
tickets.
I know we're probably doing a show next year as well. I know pretty much the tickets sold out within a week of going on sale. So we had to include matinees. So we've added 6 matinees. So hopefully you'll be able to get a ticket.
Fantastic.
Fingers crossed.
Well, Ian, thanks a lot again for being here, buddy. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to keeping in touch.
Thank you, Matt. Brilliant.